Caster Semenya turned in the most dominant performance of the competition, finishing 2.5 seconds ahead of her rivals in the women's 800 metres. But what people were interested in wasn't necessarily Caster's times. In the build-up to the race, the IAAF, athletics governing body, announced that they would be conducting gender tests on the South African. Journalist Ramatsi Moholowa covered the events in Berlin.
Initially, the reaction was not that bad, up until she basically won the tournament. That's when stories started coming up, especially from Australia, where people were saying, no, Caster is not a woman, Caster is a man.
Caster Semenya's private and sporting lives exploded in a media frenzy. The story made headlines around the world, many unsavoury and intrusive, with a number of Australian newspapers claiming that she was a hermaphrodite, with external female and internal male sex organs. Athletics South Africa claimed that Caster's birth certificate had her registered as a woman. However, suggestions that her body produced 3 times the amount of testosterone expected in a female led to the IAAF suspending the then 18-year-old. The world champion went into hiding, and the story made even bigger headlines, becoming one of the most talked about topics of the year.
I think basically it was handled very unfairly. She's seemed to me just to be some innocent bystander, and all this media attention, she didn't really deserve it.
I think she was treated quite badly, actually. They really embarrassed her, and I just think they could have done it in a better way.
To me, she's not a woman. She has got more testosterone to me than a woman has. She has an unfair advantage over all the other female athletes. That's my opinion.
Caster Semenya was treated badly. This is unacceptable what they did to her.
I don't think that it was fair to be asking persons who you are. I think Caster Semenya is a good person, so they don't have to ask him who he is or she is.
Transworld Sport travelled to South Africa recently to meet up with Caster to see if we could report her side of the story. The first day we were due to meet the reigning women's 800-metre world champion, she didn't show up for training. Meanwhile, her coach was clear about what they would and wouldn't talk about. Her gender was strictly off the agenda.
You know, we have sit down and then we talk about these things, and then we said we don't talk about the past because we look forward now. I won't comment anything about the gender.
When Caster did show up on the second day, the 19-year-old was understandably apprehensive about speaking to the media, but spared us a few moments to talk about coping with the maelstrom her life became post-Berlin.
You know, for my side, I'm used to the hard times, you know. Yeah, I can say I'm a hard worker, but when it comes to the stupid things like this ones, you know, it makes me a tough person, you know. It makes me to be difficult. It helps me a lot because, you know, as a young girl, you know, when I grow up, you know, I can't have problems in my family. I had, you know, a rough time, you know, in the last 13 months, so, you know, I can't forget what has happened, but yeah, I'm just gonna try to live.
Born and raised in the rural province of Limpopo, Caster Semenya became the first black South African woman to win gold at the Athletics World Championships, following her triumph in the German capital. When she returned home, ASA and the South African government vehemently defended her over the allegations, even lodging a complaint with the United Nations High Commission on Human Rights, accusing the IAAF of racism and sexism. But it soon became apparent that the head of Athletics South Africa, Leonard Schwenny, had conducted his own gender tests on Semenya after she broke the 800-metre junior African record in the weeks leading up to Berlin. Rod Knight is a leading sports journalist.
Caster Semenya was gender tested, before she went to Berlin for the World Championships, but it was kept secret and under wraps, and she was told she had to get a medal. She went ahead and she won gold, and that is what gave, supposedly, Leonard Schwenny enough ammunition to say, no matter what I've done in the past, this is the results.
Shweni had lied to Semenya about the purposes of the gender tests and had ignored requests from ASA doctors to withdraw her from the World Championships over concerns about the confidentiality of her medical records. Shweni had to admit he'd covered up the results.
I felt that at that time I was acting in the best interest of Caster Semenya as a person. I believed at that time that my consistent denial would help to protect her. That's what I believed. I've, however, realized that it was an error of judgment and that I could have been more forthcoming with this information, even if it was difficult.
Following the revelations, Shweni and the entire ASA board were suspended by the South African Sports Confederation and Olympic Committee. Investigations into the controversy have since uncovered massive levels of corruption within ASA.
Caster Semenya is, I think, just a tool that was used to open up this can of worms, and I think it's now become more like a tank of snakes and spiders rather than just a can of worms. I think it's grown so massive that this is only the beginning.
The IAAF cleared Caster to run again without commenting further on the case. And in July this year, Semenya made her return to competitive racing in Finland. She finished well clear of the field despite not being fully fit. A month later, Caster made her Diamond League debut at the Memorial Van Damme in Belgium and finished third, behind Kenya's former world champion Janet Kwiatkowski and reigning European champion Maria Savinova of Russia. While there has been criticism from some quarters about allowing her to compete again, most of her fellow competitors have offered their support.
I think it's silly. You know, she went out, she is a girl, not because of her testosterone level. That don't mean everybody should criticize her being a boy or whatever. She went out there and her country knew that she is a girl. She knew to herself that she's a girl and also her parents. So I don't think people should be coming down on her that hard. It's not her fault. It's not her fault at all.
Understandably, the 11 months off have had an effect on Caster's performances. However, the 19-year-old's fitness levels haven't been the only thing that have hampered her comeback. She's also struggled to attract sponsorship.
For my side, it doesn't matter if I run without sponsor or I run with a sponsor, because you know, I'm a big lady. I can handle everything. Doesn't matter if a sponsorship is around me or not, or what I need to do. I just need to keep my profile high, so I can be, a role model for young kids, at home, especially for the rural areas.
So what does the future hold for Caster Semenya? In the short term, there's a reveal-all exclusive in Sports Illustrated magazine while she recovers from the back injury that ruled her out of this year's Commonwealth Games. Next year, she's hoping to run at the All-Africa Games in Maputo and the Athletics World Championships in South Korea. But the rumour mill grinds on, with speculation about operations and medication. It doesn't help that gender issues are still considered taboo in sport. With her best years ahead of her, we think it's only a matter of time before Caster sets her sights on Jarmila Kratochvilova's 27-year-old 800 metres world record. But will the headlines Caster Semenya makes from now on be about breaking world records?